Growing potatoes is probably one of the easiest and most rewarding things that you can do in a garden. A lot of new people that never grown anything can grow a potato, and I'm going to show you today how easy it really is to get started. So, I mean, I like personally to go to the hardware stores whenever the growing season starts and buy my seed potatoes from there, but you don't have to. If you have potatoes in your pantry, you've no doubt seen this before, right? The potatoes start to grow these little eyes and get a little mushy, and as long as they're firm, you can knock the eyes off and still use the potato. They taste fine. Once they start to get a little mushy though, most people just throw them out. Don't throw them out. You can actually use these. So there are a few different methods that you can use to plant. First being, you can just take this whole potato, dig the trench, and plant it. So that's option one. Second option is you can cut it into a couple pieces with just a couple eyes on each piece and plant that. The third option is to take and cut them up and let them dry for a few days. This one's been drying for about 2 days. So growing up, this was the method that I've always been taught. My grandpa used, my dad used, and I used. We would take potatoes and we would make sure there were 2 to 3 eyes on each potato piece. We'd slice them up, turn them upside down out in the sun, and let them dry for a day or so, up to 2 days even. More recently, I've just cut them up and planted them immediately. Never had any issues with rot. And then this year, I tried just planting the whole potato. So the only difference in each of these methods is planting the whole potato, you're gonna get a lot more potatoes per plant, right? Planting the seed potatoes that are cut up and dried, you're still gonna get a lot of potatoes. There's just not gonna be as many per plant, but you have more plants, right? As you can see behind me, these are all potato plants here. These have been in the ground for about 5 or 6 weeks. So I'm gonna take the camera and turn it around and show you these up close. So these are the potato plants that we planted about 5 weeks ago or so. As you can see, they're doing very well. These are about 7 or 8 inches tall. Some of them, you know, they take a little longer. Some take a little longer to sprout than others. They're a little bit smaller, but overall, this is what they will look like about 6 weeks after planting. So you want to get your trench dug about 3 to 4 inches deep, and then you want to just space your potatoes about 2 feet apart. And you'll just lay those in the trench, just like so. And that goes for whether you've done the pieces or the whole potatoes. I like to lay the majority of the eyes facing up. And then you're gonna just come back and cover those up. Now, you barely want to tap down on these. You don't want to damage the eyes. So you just lightly pack those, and then the water, when you water them, it'll pack the rest of the way. Once your potatoes get to this height where they're about 6 or 8 inches tall, you're going to want to mound dirt up around them. So on top of your seed is where generally the potatoes will form. They'll send out roots from the stem of the plant. Roots will come out and they'll make these tubers. And if they're exposed to sunlight, they will not form a potato. So you want to make sure you keep dirt mounded up. That's why you see big mounds of dirt along potatoes. And you'll do this probably 2 times, maybe even 3 times over the span of the life of the potato. And that just, you drag the dirt from the center of the row. And you're going to cover the plant from both directions. Using a hoe is a little bit easier. I like using a rake because I can grab a lot more dirt at one time. But you're going to just mound that dirt up just like so. After a couple of months, you've mounded probably twice, maybe even the 3rd time. You can go, just let the plant get up about 6 inches, 8 inches before you mound it. And then leave a couple inches sticking out of the top so that way it can continue to grow. After watering and rain and such, you know, you're gonna have some wash away. It's not a big deal. Like I say, in a couple weeks, we'll come back, we'll mound all of these again. Once they get up a good few months of living, they'll start to bloom. Depending on the type of potato you have, it could be a light yellow flower, it could be a light purple flower. There's a couple different colors that you'll see, but you'll have flowers that'll start to appear. That's pollinating, and then the potatoes will start to form. Generally, I don't start to pick or dig our potatoes until the plant starts to die. Once the plant starts to wilt and turn yellow and starts to die a little bit, you know that the potatoes are ready to dig. If you like, you can dig around through the berm of dirt and pick, you know, a few each time if you're ready to eat, and you can kind of dig around gently and find ones that are ready to pick. Some will be small, so if you want to put them in green beans or something like that, you can get the small ones and put in their hole, where they'll continue to grow and get bigger. So here in North Florida where we live, we can't leave them in the ground very long after the plants die, because the taters will actually start to rot in the ground. I know some places to our north and where it's cooler, you can mulch the ground and the taters will stay good in there for all year, but it's not the case here, unfortunately. I wish it was, but usually we'll dig them and then stick them in a pantry, and that way they can, in a dark place, and that way you can preserve them that way. But it really is that simple to grow potatoes. I encourage anyone, even if you don't have a green thumb, even if you've never planted a garden before, give it a try. It's very rewarding growing your own food, and especially with the times that we're living in right now, it's probably not a bad idea to grow your own food. So my grandpa taught me a lot about gardening. He was the best gardener I've ever known. He lived in one of the poorest, sandiest soil places that you could grow a garden. I actually tried growing gardens there myself and was never successful at getting corn to get about more than a foot taller, so it was terrible. And he grew some of the nicest, most beautiful vegetables that you could ever imagine. So he put a lot of work into composting and such. Thankfully, where we live now, the ground is actually really good. I fertilize very little, and but it's very rewarding. So I encourage you, get out there, get a garden, even if it's a small raised bed, if it's flower pots, if it's anything you can do. You don't have to have a big plot of land here. We have 11 children, so we grow a big garden. So, but you don't have to have a garden this size to have fun and grow your own food. So hopefully this was helpful to somebody. We greatly appreciate you watching our videos and supporting our channel, and we will see you next time.